was not a top 50 verse.
Do you like the new song?
No, but you know.
You don't like Ace Trumpets?
What's so great about it?
It's so good.
Pusha T or Malice?
To keep it a buck, I'm gonna go with Pusha T, so we're not gonna drink to them.
Jim Jones really just woke up one morning and thought it was a good idea to come for not one, not two, but three of hip-hop's most legendary heavyweights, Nas, Pusha T, and No Malice. And now, he's finding out the hard way that some fights ain't worth starting. The whole rap game is sitting back with popcorn, watching him spiral in slow motion, all because he thought tossing out some harmless commentary was no big deal. But nah, he accidentally sparked one of the slickest, most strategic comebacks we've seen in hip-hop in years. That's when everybody realized the crazy move he had just pulled. This dude, who thought he was just tossing shade, might have single-handedly brought Clipse back from the shadows.
I know about my Nas, son can't tell you one Nas record. You heard? Like, let's keep it a buck here.
Yeah, but
like, let's
What started as a bold claim about Nas being irrelevant exploded into a lyrical war zone that even Paris Fashion Week couldn't dodge. Imagine Pharrell, Beyoncé, and Jay-Z sitting front row, minding their fancy business, and boom, they caught the lyrical smoke live. Right in the middle of all that, Jim Jones. The same guy who once said Pusha T's music never meant anything to him is now becoming the warm-up act for Clipse's big return. Like, he really turned himself into a whole marketing rollout without even realizing? Man, you could feel all of Harlem freeze up the second Jim decided to pop off and say, "This son, they know about Nas, my son." Jim really went for the soul. He dragged Nas's whole legacy to the dinner table, uninvited, and tried to claim it wasn't even memorable enough. Wild. For the next generation to remember. And believe it or not, that wasn't even the craziest thing Jim said that week. Because Jim didn't just make his point once and dip. Nah, he laughed it off, then kept spinning the block, going on every platform he could find to run his mouth. He hit up The Breakfast Club, Bag Fuel, Nightcap with Shannon Sharp, and even random street interviews and live streams. This man was on a full promo tour for his own hot takes. At one point, he tried to play it cool and claimed he was just keeping it real as a fan.
Viral at all, ever. Ever. He's never been talked about like this ever in his life.
Now, has Nas reached out to you?
You did. The last time he was in some like this, when people were comparing, is when him and Jay was beating on him. You heard? You did? Like, that, and I don't want to talk about other people's career, but let's just get to the semantics of it.
Since the whole thing?
Nas.
Okay.
I don't know Nas to have a conversation with him. You don't have a conversation, we can have that too much like that. You dig? Like, I don't really care.
One thing I
that.
did see you do, I've seen you do this in Say Less, I've seen you do this in the studio.
But then he really lost it on Bag Fuel. He didn't just clown Nas, he tried to rewrite the whole narrative. Jim said he was the reason Nas was trending again. According to him, nobody had been checking for Nas like that since Ether. Jim straight up said Nas wasn't viral at all. Ever. That's what came out of his own mouth on camera. Wild. The craziest part? Jim never stopped to think who he was messing with. Nas isn't the type to go back and forth or throw wild shots on social media. Nah. He's the kind of boss who moves in silence, lines up billion-dollar deals, and flexes without even raising his voice. While Jim kept talking slick, Nas was making power moves. Instead of throwing jabs, Nas started crafting something so big it might become the most legendary cultural landmark Queens has ever seen. Jim was out here lighting up imaginary fires, while Nas was out here stacking real bricks. Then, when the time was right, Nas dropped one of the iciest flexes hip-hop has ever witnessed. He went on Instagram and casually posted an ad for a $5 billion casino investment in Queens. Now that's how you shut someone up without even saying a word. Time to invest in us. That wasn't just business talk. That was Nas flexing hard, basically saying, "I'm way too rich for this nonsense." And if that had been the only fire Jim decided to play with, maybe he could have slid out quietly. But nah, Jim wanted more smoke. So he went and poked at Pusha T. Jim straight up said Pusha wasn't even in the top 50. Like, whoa. He dragged him all the way down and didn't even think twice. But here's the thing Jim missed. It wasn't just Pusha watching from the sidelines. No Malice was paying attention too. Now everybody's asking the same question. Did Jim just bring Clipse back together off one reckless comment?
Can you sing along the 5 Pusha T records right now? His records.
Yes.
His records?
Yeah.
Name
I love
them.
Pusha. Nostalgia.
Oh, you was a Pusha T fan.
If
He's
you
like,
know, you know.
I didn't know he had fans like
No.
that. Can you name 5 Pusha T records? No,
Dreaming of
his
the
records.
past.
Pusha T, I love your soul, my dog. You're not in my top 50. You might be in Charlemagne's top 50 and things like that.
Pusha
But
top 50.
you haven't done that much for me in my life. Like I never want to be like Pusha. I never had a Pusha moment in my life. I never thought like you did. Like where I'm from, I just want to be like you if you was really that dude and that rapper and things
Wayne
like that.
wanted to
It's
be like Pusha.
Yeah.
He was influenced by Pusha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's why Pusha did the Mr. Me Too record.
Okay, cool. You a very strong Pusha T fan. Yeah. But what else has he bring to the game? Did he make people want to dress like him? Did he have some slang that everybody was talking like him? There'll be the girls, all the girls wanted to do him. Like, what is you did?
Let's run it back for a second, because Clipse didn't just pop up out of nowhere. The Clipse had been chilling in the shadows for almost 15 years. But way before Jim even started talking spicy, Pusha had already dropped a hint in Rolling Stone. He was trying to pull his brother back into the game. Pusha said, "I'm like, yo, listen to what I just made." We can really do this, but his brother kept brushing him off. Pusha even said, "If I had it my way, it would be the Clipse. It's really up to my brother." But Jim, without realizing, might have handed them the perfect reason to come back and make a statement. People started catching on when reunion rumors started bubbling at Pharrell's Something in the Water festival in Virginia Beach back in 2022. Clipse hit that stage and the crowd went wild. A few months later, boom, they popped up again at Complex Con and the whispers turned into full-on hype. At Chicago's Hyde Park Summerfest, the brothers stepped on stage together again, tearing it up with classics from Lord Willin' and Hell Hath No Fury. No Malice looked hungry, like he was ready to jump all the way back in for real. But it was what went down after that really had the streets talking. The Clipse got spotted in Paris, strutting down the Louis Vuitton runway, hand in hand with Pharrell. Pharrell had just taken over as creative director for LV's menswear line, and he brought the brothers with him like it was a royal entrance. Meanwhile, Jay-Z and Beyoncé were chilling front row, catching the vibes. Then, right in the middle of the show, a brand new Clipse track started blasting through the speakers. Man, it was raw, it was mean, and it had one clear target, Jim Jones. Pusha wasn't playing coy at all. He was looking straight at Jim with those bars. But this wasn't just any random diss. This was some next-level poetry. They debuted that joint at Paris Fashion Week in front of some of the most powerful icons in the entire culture. And the man pulling all the strings? Pharrell! Fans didn't waste no time connecting the dots. Was this Pharrell's silent payback? A slick chess move from the billionaire lab at Billionaire Boys Club HQ to shut Jim up once and for all? Could be, especially since Jim had been running around bigging up Drake as the greatest of all time during interviews like, come on. All that slick talk came back to haunt him in the most fashionable, icy way possible. Jim was clearly throwing his support behind Pusha's biggest rival, and he made it super obvious during that Complex interview. He didn't even try to hide it, and just like that, Clipse was officially back. Not with some PR stunt, not with a random single. They came back swinging with a revenge track, premiered on one of the most legendary cultural stages ever. Jim probably thought he was just running his mouth for clout, but little did he know, No Malice and Pusha were using his noise as the perfect setup for a crazy comeback. Now everybody's wondering, did Jim just hand No Malice the greatest comeback moment in rap history? Or did he basically write his own rap funeral speech without realizing it? 'Cause Clipse haven't even dropped a full album yet and they already got folks shook? And you can't forget about Pharrell, the mastermind behind this whole move. He's not just the producer, that man is family. He's the one who gave Clipse their signature sound, their whole identity, that raw Virginia sauce. So when Jim started clowning Clipse in interviews, calling them irrelevant, mocking their catalog like it didn't matter, he wasn't just coming at Pusha. He was disrespecting the entire Clipse legacy. That's wild. Nobody saw No Malice coming back like this. Let's keep it real. For over 10 years, he was the quiet big brother who stepped away from rap, found God, and chose a life of peace while Pusha stayed in the trenches holding it down. No Malice had even said many times he wasn't planning to rap again. But now, thanks to Jim running his mouth, the older brother is back in the ring, and he's coming with that unexpected heat. So when No Malice's voice came blasting through those speakers at the Paris Louis Vuitton show, it wasn't just surprising, it sent chills down spines. Let's pause and really break this down. No Malice wasn't just tossing random shots in the air. Nah, these bars were laser-focused, carefully layered disses aimed straight at Jim's soul. When he said, "Bird talk, we all parrots," that wasn't some cute wordplay. That was a full-on shot at Jim's bird gang. He straight up dissed Jim's whole brand, his crew, his entire identity in one line. And those cities he dropped, Paris and Dallas, that wasn't by accident. Those were the same cities Jim shouted out in his freestyle over the chains and whips beat just days before. No Malice wasn't just responding, he was tuned in heavy, but it didn't stop there. Folks started noticing something even crazier. No Malice wasn't just rapping again. He was rapping like he'd been sitting in the cut waiting for this exact moment. Suddenly, his return wasn't just a bonus surprise. It felt like a straight-up warning shot to the whole game. And guess what? Jim basically handed him the perfect green light. No Malice kicked off his entire response campaign with a clip of Jim laughing at Pusha's Paris verse. Jim tried to play it off, laughing on Instagram like it was all jokes. But when he pulled up to Drink Champs and NORE mentioned the Clipse diss, Jim's whole vibe shifted. The tough mask slipped for a second. You could see it. Right there, he accidentally let the world know he felt that heat. After that, Jim jumped in the booth and dropped his Chains and Whips freestyle, using the same beat Clipse had used to torch him. He tried to clap back, but it only added more fuel to the buzz. Then came the BET Awards. Bootleg Kev grabbed Jim for a quick interview, and Jim did what he always does, tried to act unbothered, all cool and calm. But when they asked about Clipse's new single ACE Trumpets, Jim didn't hold back at all. He let his true feelings fly. Okay. Jim tried to paint Clipse like they were just cashing in on nostalgia, saying their bars were mid and acting like they had no real bite. But instead of looking like a fearless OG, Jim came off looking like a rapper losing his grip right on camera. Like, what do you even do when the folks you dissed start leveling up and getting stronger? You either double down or fall off completely. Jim? He went all in, grabbed a bigger shovel, and started digging his own hole even deeper. Just when you thought Jim couldn't go further, he popped up on Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and went right back at it. This time, he didn't just poke at Clipse. He circled back to Nas, his favorite target. Jim claimed Nas was never really influential. He had the nerve to say Nas always came in second place to Jay-Z and DMX, and then, with a straight face, he hit us with, "That's like saying Jordan fell off after Space Jam." Bro, what? That's delusional on another level? While Jim was out here chasing clout and dropping wild sound bites, Clipse was busy plotting chess moves behind the scenes. They finally dropped the full rollout for their long-awaited reunion album, Let God Sort 'Em Out. And if folks thought Chains and Whips was the big bang, nah, that was just the warm-up. This album wasn't just a regular comeback, it was a whole statement, a power move. Clipse stepped back into the game like they never left, and everyone felt that impact instantly. The album was stacked with heavy hitters: Nas, Kendrick Lamar, Tyler, The Creator, The Dream, John Legend, and of course, executive production from the mastermind Pharrell. But here's the wild twist. The project was all set to drop through Def Jam until Def Jam allegedly tried to censor Kendrick's verse. Word on the street? Kendrick's verse had some sneaky shots aimed at Drake, Travis Scott, and the whole fake politics running the industry. Clipse wasn't having it. They straight up pulled out of the Def Jam deal on the spot and took their album over to Roc Nation instead. That bold move alone spoke volumes. Clipse didn't come back as some washed-up legends hoping for a nostalgia tour. They came back as power players ready to shake up the whole industry. And Jim? He really had the nerve to ask, who even got Pusha's back? Clipse answered that question loud and clear with this move. This glow-up didn't happen overnight, but when it hit different. Jim wasn't just catching stray disses, he was getting left in the dust. He wasn't blackballed. He was quietly benched. And for a dude who built his whole brand on being loud, loyal, and in your face, that silence cut deeper than any diss track. So when Clipse finally drops that collab with Nas, it ain't just gonna be a diss, it's gonna feel like a funeral. Jim can keep dropping freestyles, keep trolling on the gram, keep acting like he's unbothered. But behind the curtains, real moves are being made. Tours getting lined up, big visuals getting shot, major meetings locked in, and Jim, nowhere in sight. The real question isn't, will Jim clap back? The question is, will anyone even care if he does? He wanted all that viral smoke, but now? He's standing there all alone, looking canceled in real time, and might have just erased himself straight out of hip-hop history.